Welcome to Yarn Whispers, where my hands crochet and my heart tell stories. Every yarn has its journey, some smooth, some tangled, and sometimes life feels exactly like that. Beautiful in the beginning, then messy somewhere in between. Today, I want to tell you a story about unraveling, about losing everything you thought you had together and learning to start again. It began on a quiet morning, one of those mornings that feel ordinary at first. I woke up, made tea, and sat at my little wooden table with my yarn basket beside me. The sun was streaming in softly, and for a moment, everything felt peaceful. I picked up my crochet hook, ready to continue a piece I had been working on for weeks. A warm, cream-colored blanket I had planned to give someone special. But as I lifted it, I noticed something, loose thread. It didn't look like much at first, just a small pull. But when I tried to fix it, the thread slipped, and before I could stop it, a whole section began to unravel. I froze, my heart tightened. I watched hours of work, patience, and care come undone in seconds. I felt like yarn unveiling it felt like me. You see, at that time, my life was already falling apart. The unraveling on the blanket was just a reflection of my heart. I had lost things I thought would last forever. Plans had failed. Promises had been broken, and I was carrying the silent weight of disappointment. Everyone around me thought I was doing fine because I smiled, because I kept busy, because I never let anyone see the pain in my chest. But inside, I was like that blanket, barely holding together, stretched too tight, one thug away from completely coming undone. So when I watched the yarn fall apart that morning, I broke, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, tear rolling down. Whispered to myself, I am tired. I dropped the hook. I pushed the blanket aside, and for weeks I couldn't bring myself to touch it again. It sat there in the corner of my room, unfinished, just like so many things in my life at that time. Every time I looked at it, it reminded me of everything I had lost control over: relationships, peace, faith, hope. The yarn looked so useless, so fragile, so much like me. But life has gently ways of calling you back, not through noise, but through whispers. One evening, after a long, weary day, I sat by the window and looked at the unraveled yarn again. The sunset painted the room gold, and something about that quiet moment made me reach for the hook again. I didn't plan to finish the blanket. I didn't even know if I could. I just needed to do something with my hands. Something simple, something steady. And so I began again. Loop after loop. Knot after knot. The rhythm was slow, almost meditative. At first, I felt nothing but emptiness, but as the stitches began to form again, I realized that something inside me was shifting. Every loop I made felt like a breath, every knot a small prayer, and every completed row whispered to me, you can start again. It wasn't just the blanket I was preparing, it was myself. You see, in life, things fall apart: plans, friendships, dreams, even faith. And when they do, it feels unfair. It feels like all your effort was wasted. But crocheting that evening taught me something powerful. When a piece unravels, it doesn't mean the yarn is useless. It only means the pattern needs to change. Maybe life is the same. Maybe God allows certain things to unravel, not because He's punishing us, but because He's preparing us for something more beautiful, something that wouldn't fit inside the old design. As my hooks moved, I began to think about all the ways life teaches us through breaking, how heartbreak teaches compassion, how loss teaches appreciation, how waiting teaches patience, and how failure teaches strength. The unraveling wasn't the end of me, it was the making of me. Because in that silence, I learned to listen. In that brokenness, I learned to feel. In that emptiness, I learned that starting again isn't a sign of weakness, it's a proof of courage. Days passed, and every evening I found myself returning to that same spot by the window. My hook, my yarn, my heart, all slowly coming back to life. Sometimes I would get tangled. Sometimes I would have to undo few rows again. And instead of crying, I would smile softly and whisper, "It's okay. We'll fix it." Because that's life, isn't it? We try, we fail, we fix, we continue. The beauty isn't in perfection, it is in persistence. As I crocheted, I began to see how much my life mirrored the yarn in my hands. How the same material that once made something beautiful could still be used to create something new. Just because a chapter ends doesn't mean the story is over. Sometimes the unraveling is simply the pause before the masterpiece. Weeks passed. The blanket was done. Not perfect. Some rows were tighter, some looser, but it was whole again. When I spread it across my bed, I didn't see the yarn stitches. I saw healing. I saw grace. I saw the quiet resilience of someone who refused to give up in life. It wasn't the same piece I started with, but somehow it was better. Because now, every thread carries a story of pain, of patience, of peace. And maybe that's how life works. We unravel so that we can rebuild differently, stronger, softer, wiser. We lose so we can learn what truly matters. We break so we can understand how to mend. We start again, not from the beginning, but from experience. If your life feels like it's falling apart right now, if everything you built is coming undone, I want you to know this. It's okay. You are not failing, you are just in the process. You are being reshaped, rewoven, rewind. The same yarn that once broke can still create something beautiful again. All you have to do is pick it up and begin. Take your time. Don't rush the healing. Don't compare your progress. Every stitch, no matter how small, is a step towards wholeness. Sometimes the harvest, the bravest thing you can do is simply show up with your trembling hands, your tired eyes, and your hopeful heart, and whisper, "I will try again today." Because there is beauty in trying, there is strength in the soft, there is magic in the slow. The world may celebrate speed and success, but in your quiet space, you are creating something eternal, peace, purpose, and when it falls apart, we have the power, the quiet, patient power to start again. So if you are listening to me and your life feels like a tangled mess, don't give up. Pick up your yarn, find your rhythm again, and start small. one loop, one breath, one hope at a time. Because even when life unravels, you can still create something beautiful. This is yarn whispers, where every stitch carries a story, and every story reminds us we can always begin again.